Everyone, please mute your audio. So the topic name is called as a means I want something in a cage. So which is written by whom? Means Evie. Sorry, Ellie Griff, isn't it? Yes. So Ellie Griff. So when we talk about this topic, so what we draw here, the passage describes a scene in Mr. Purcell's pet shop where a man enters the shop and purchases two dogs. Mr. Purcell, who is the owner of the shop, is initially puzzled. Puzzled means confused. Confused by what? Now, confused by the man's request for something in a cage, right? But eventually sells him the dopes for a reduced price of $5. However, the man's behavior becomes increasingly strange as he questions Mr. Purcell about the noise in the shop and reveals that he earned his money through hard labor. Despite Mr. Purcell's attempt, what do we find out here? Now, despite Mr. Purcell's attempts to provide advice on caring for the dogs, the man abruptly leaves the store. So, takes the dogs out of their cage and releases them into the city. This unusual and unexpected behavior leaves Mr. Purcell confused and wondering why the man would go through the trouble of buying the dogs when he only to set them free. So the passage or the story has been narrated in a sense of mystery and leaves the readers with the questions about the man's motivations and man's action. On the basis of that, the whole topic is created. So, do you understand the kind of summary that I pointed here?
Sir, a little bit, sir.
Yeah, I'm going to explain it in a, you know, means more clearly. So, uh, so what it has pointed actually. If you look into the beginning of the story, it is started with the what? That Mr. Purcell did not believe in ghosts, right? Nevertheless, the man who bought the two doves and his strange act immediately thereafter left him with a distinct sense of uncanny, as though behind his departed customer there had lingered the musty smell of an abandoned, haunted house. Mr. Purcell was, a small, fussy man, red cheeks, and a tight, melon stomach. And also, you would find out means that what large glasses magnified his uh, eyes so as to give him the appearance of a wise and genial owl. Now we understand that the first couple of paragraphs are giving indication or the ideas about Mr. Person, what kind of a person he is, how he appears, and what his profession. So he owned a pet shop, he sold cats and dogs and monkeys. He dealt in fish food and bird seed, prescribed remedies for ailing canaries, and displayed on its shelves long rows of ornate and glided cages. He considered himself something of a professional man. So, if you observe that there are lots of difficult words, like you talk about ornate and glided cages, you also talk about that is called as what we talk about. Um, Cannery, uncanny. So all such kind of a words are there. But these are giving the idea about what? Now means uncanny, which means unusual, right? Or something strange or odd. If you talk about there had lingered the musty smell of an abandoned. So lingered means that called as a sprayed the musty smell. Musty means called as a bad smell, stinky smell. Uh, so of an abandoned haunted house, the smell of what? Now the smell of a house which was left for a many months or many years. So such kind of a smell coming out from that. So and then after we talk about Mr. Purcell, so how he, what kind of a person he was? Very small, maybe in a height, fussy man. So something like serious in looking. So red cheeks and a tight melon stomach, like a big stomach or belly. So large glasses magnified. He wears a kind of a big glasses, big spectacles. So through that you would find out his eyes are looking like a big in size, right? So and it seems like he was a very wise and also genial person, right? So he has been compared with the owl. So what is his profession? We talk about his profession was a businessman. He owned a pet shop, right? He sold cats, he sold the dogs and monkeys, other birds also, fish, food also, uh, and also give medicines to animals, medicines, right? So Ellen Canneridge, right? Remedies for Ellen Canneridge. Ellen Canneridge means referring as a when the animals or birds get uh, get into the or affected into the diseases, so he gives them gives or he prescribes medicine.
Specific burn.
Sorry.
So canary is a specific burn.
Ellen Canneridge means it is indicating that any kind of birds, right? So who are affected with the disease. It's not indicating to the if you talk about that particular what do we say that particular birds. Uh, but if you observe that that may be called as a domestic canary. So in that case, it is a kind of a bird, isn't it? Domestic canary. So even we have also Canary Islands, right? So in that case, you can talk about it referring to the birds. It looks like very small, which are kept in a means a cage. So there are different types of canaries also you would find out, right? So in that case, you can refer as a canaries are birds. Like you can talk about domestic canary, you can talk about blue factor canary. You also say cinnamon, cinnamon, cinnamon canary. You also talk about that uh, five fancy canary, right? So there are different types of canary are there, and for them means this man gives medicines if they are affected with any kind of a disease. Do you get the point?
Yes, sir.
And displayed on his shelves long rows of ornate and gilded cages. He considered himself what? Something of a professional man. So he considered himself that what he was a professional one. He a constant stir up movement pervaded his shop. Constant stir up movement. It indicates that constant uh, air, right? That movement or a kind of a sound that sprayed his shop, whispered tweeters. You can also say that sly rustling, squells, cheeps, and also sudden squeaks. Small feet scampered in frantic circles that I told you in the last class. So, what we could find out in this particular topic that called as a uh, here it is stated about a kind of a means pet shop. Obviously, the animals, birds, and other uh, varieties of pet are kept. So therefore, the kind of different sounds come out of that, isn't it? So in that case, you would find out means the kind it creates a kind of a fiasco or a fear. It creates a kind of a fear among the customer. What kind of a fear? Now, when the sounds come, small feet scampered in frantic circle means, as you know, that uh, mouse or mice, dogs, puppy. So all these squirrels. So these are kept. So birds are kept. So they create the kind of a sound through their means paws, right? And some also circled. So therefore, it creates a kind of a sound, and that sound frightened, bewildered. Bewildered means confused, blindly seeking, right? So across the shelves means the shelves where the cages are kept, uh, pulsed this endless flicker of light, right? But the customers who came in said, "Aren't they cute?" Right? Across the shelves pulsed its endless flicker of light, but the customers who came in said, "Aren't they cute?" So obviously, those of the birds and dogs and squirrels, they are kept in the what? They are kept in the cage, right? Little cage. That is what their means life, right? So there only they flicker, isn't it? So, but the customer who enjoyed it, so it is a kind of a two-side thoughts. What is that two-side thoughts? Now, one side we are giving means torturing to these animals, torturing to means these creatures, and calling that what they are cute, right? Look at that little cage; they are sweet. And Mr. Purcell himself would smile and briskly rub his hands and empathetically shake his head. So obviously, Mr. Purcell is a businessman. So he wanted to sell his pets. Therefore, what did he do? Now he agrees with the customer, right? And made a kind of a briskly rub his hands and shake his head like means agree with the customer's viewpoint. Each morning, when the routine of opening his shop was completed, it was the proprietor's custom to perch on a high school, right? It was a proprietor's custom. So to perch on a high school means what? Now that called as a perch on a high stool behind the counter, unfold his morning paper, and digest the day's news. So here the author stated about whom means what is the routine of means Mr.
Sir,
Purcell. Yes,
sir, I think one question is incorrect.
whichever is correct or incorrect, please do them, and then after you send it to me. Okay,
Yes, sir.
I'll discuss that. So what happened here? Uh, each morning when the routine of opening a shop was completed, it was the proprietor's custom. Proprietor, who is proprietor here? Mr. Purcell's, Mr. Purcell. Mr. Purcell's has been called as the proprietors, and it is his duty to do what? Sit on a high school, uh, a high stool uh, behind the counter and unfold his morning paper. So sitting on the high stool, opening his morning paper and digest the day's news. So as he read, he would smirk, frown, effectively purse his lips, right? Knowingly lift his eyebrows, right? Like the different type of expression, right? So digest the day's news means read and also um, doesn't care like okay. So he would smirk, frown, and reflectively purse his lips, right? Purse his lips means smile, sometime also make a kind of a angry expression, some kind of serious expression, such kind of a thing. And not in grave agreement, right? So not in grave agreement means in a serious agreement, right? So he read everything, even advice to the love learn and the detailed columns of advertisement. So what did he do? Now he did not leave a single column of the newspaper. So he read means each and every details, right, which has been given in the newspaper, whether that is a means love learn means means any of the advice is given, or maybe called as any of the advertisement is provided. It was a rough day for him, right? So a strong wind blew against the high, right? Up, and also you talk about place glass windows, smoke uh, filmed the wintry city, and the air was grey with a thick frost. Having completed his usual task, Mr. Purcell again mounted the high stool and unfolded his morning paper. He adjusted his glasses. Now, what do you find out that means? It is stated that uh, any day is considering as a rough day for him, right? Rough day means what? After doing a lot of means cells, or called as a kind of activities. So he felt like what? It was a very rough day. So, and it is stated that means a strong wind blew against the high plate glass window. A strong wind blew against the high means it is indicating about means the outside air, right, which was strong, and it was moving very fast. Plate glass windows, smoke filled filmed the wintry city. Smoke filmed the wintry city means the outside is completely looking like or appearing like dark, right? So it is also said that wintry city, and the air was grey with a thick frost, right? So seems like the mist was falling from the sky. Having completed his usual task, Mr. Purcell again mounted the high stool and unfolded his morning paper. He adjusted his glasses and glanced at the day's headline. Glanced means called as a looked at the day's headlines. Chirping and squeaking and mewing vibrated all around him. So obviously these are called as a different types of sounds. So chirping sound means birds, squeaking, so and mewing, that may be cats. Uh, so vibrated all around him. Yet Mr. Purcell heard it no more than he would have heard the monotonous ticking of a familiar clock. Right. So what did he do? Now Mr. Purcell heard it no more than he would have heard the monotonous. Monotonous means called as a boring ticking sound of the familiar clock. So the clock which was hung on the wall. So he heard that sound only. There was a bell over the door, so that jingled whenever a customer entered. So you know that a doorbell, or called as a bell over the door. It means something which was hung. So and whenever somebody came to the shop, so obviously that bell create a jingle sound. So this this morning, however, for the first time, Mr. Purcell could recall it failed to ring. It failed to ring means what? That bell. So simply he looked up and there was the stranger. So it means even though the stranger was there, so no sound was coming out from the means jingle. So and there was the stranger standing just inside the door, as if he had materialized out of thin air. Right. So um, as an alien hand, the storekeeper slid off his stool. From the first instant, he knew instinctively, unreasonably, that the man hated him.
What is the meaning of slid?
Which one? Which one?
Sir, slid, SLID.
It is called as a past tense of a slide. You know, like when you are sitting on a position and you immediately come out of it, it's called as a sliding, isn't it? How do you slide the things? It goes like
Yes, sir.
one after another. So slid is the past tense of that. So it is stated the storekeeper means Mr. Purcell, right, who slid up his stool because he was sitting on the stool and reading the that day newspaper. Okay. So that is why. So he slid off his stool from the first instant. He knew instinctively, unreasonably, that the man hated him. The man means which man? Now the man who came to the door or stood at the doorstep, and that jingle bell was not making any sound. But out of habit, he rubbed his hands briskly together like this, smiled and nodded, smiled and nodded. Good morning, he beamed. What can I do for you? The man's shiny shoes squeaked forward. Shiny shoes squeaked forward means moved forward. His suit was cheap. Whose suit was cheap? The man who was the stranger to Mr. Purcell as a customer, right? So his suit was cheap, ill-fitting, not properly fitting, but obviously new, right? He had a shut. You can say that he had a shuttling glance and close scrubbed hair. Shuttling glance are called as a shuttling means it's like a very small look and also close scrubbed hair. His hair was also very short. Ignoring Purcell for the moment, he rolled his gaze around the shadowy shop. So he looked around the shadowy shop, the shop which was looking like what means darkened, right? A nasty morning, volunteered the shopkeeper. So a nasty morning, volunteered the shopkeeper. He clasped both hands across his melon-like stomach, right? He clasped both hands. Who? The man, Mr. Purcell. So clasped means both hands across his melon-like stomach and smiled impotently, right? As you know that his belly is big in size, so that's why he put his hands, both of his hands across his melon-like stomach and smiled impotently. I see by the paper we are in for or we were in for a cold spell. Now, what was it you wanted? The man looked closely at Mr. Purcell, as though just now aware of his presence. He said, I want something in a cage. So, something in a cage? Mr. Purcell was a bit confused when the man said that he wanted something in a cage. You mean some sort of pet? So I want something in a cage. I mean what I said. The man snapped, right? Immediately seemed like a little bit anger. Something in a cage, something that is small, right? I see. So the storekeeper quickly said, I understand, I understand. Not at all sure that he did. Right? But it did not seem like what Mr. Purcell understood anything. But he said that, okay, he understood. His eyes narrowed gravely and he pursed his lips like this. So
So
now
what is the meaning of Hastin?
Haston means quickly. The storekeeper quickly said that he understood, right? Not at all sure that he did. So, sometime what happened, the teacher asked you, did you understand? And you quickly said, yes, 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 yes. But you, uh, even if you have not understood.
Every time in school.
Yeah. His eyes narrowed gravely and he pursed his lips. Now, let me think. A white rat? So Mr. Purcell said, perhaps a white rat? I have some very nice white rats. So the man said, no, 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 not rats. Something with wings. It means birds. He wants birds. Something that flies. So Mr. Purcell surprisingly said, or in an exclaimed said, a bird? A bird is all right. The customer pointed suddenly to a suspended cage. Suspended cage means that something cage which was contained two snowy birds. Two snowy birds means doves. How much for those? So 550 came the prompt answer. So Mr. Purcell gave the price of that cage having with it.
Prompt.
Prompt means a quick answer. Quick answer.
Okay.
Came the quick answer and a very reasonable price. They are a fine pair, right? 550. The man was obviously crestfallen. The man was obviously crestfallen. He or you can say that hesitantly produced a $5 bill, right? So I would like to have these birds, but this is all I have got, just $5. Right? Understood? So how much he said? 550, and what this person have? $5. Right? So mentally, Mr. Purcell made a quick calculations, which told him that at a 50-cent reduction, he could still reap a tidy profit. It means called as a, obviously when you go to shop, right, and you bargain or negotiate with them, so they keep their profit somehow. They keep their profit. If they find out there is no profit, they will not even means they will not sell that product. So definitely here Mr. Purcell also did what? No, means when calculated, he realized that he somehow got some profit out of that $5. So he mentally calculated it. So which told him that a 50-cent reduction, he could still reap a tidy profit. He smiled magnanimously. Magnanimously means a huge smile on his face. My dear man, if you want them that badly, you can an alien hand, right? So certainly have them for $5, right? So you can certainly have them for $5. So I will take them. He laid his $5 on the counter. So Mr. Purcell tottered on tiptoe, right? Tottered means walked slowly on our tiptoe, unhooked the cage, and handed it to his customer. So finally, the man means, got the cage with the two birds of dough. The man cocked his head to one side, listened to the constant chittering, the rushing scurry of the shop. So he heard the sounds, right? Uh,
So,
so
what is the meaning of cocked?
the man cocked his head. So you can say that putting his head or turned his head so to one side, you can say, right? In a see, always remember that whenever we read any of the story or anything, so we try to get the meaning, right? Get the meaning in a connotation way. Connotation means called as a contextually. So what we can get in this, the man cocked his head to one side. It's indicating about means cocked his head to one side is turning his head to one side. That's what could be the kind of a means meaning you can say that, right? So uh, or depending on the context, you can say that, right? So like one side down or called as ready for some doing something, right? So or maybe arrange for something. So it completely depends uh, how you how you understand the text, right? Or how you understand the word, right? In the using in the sentence, right? Okay. So where we were, yeah,
So, the man cocked his head
to
to
one
one
side.
side,
Yeah,
listening
yeah,
to
yeah,
the
yeah. I
constant
got it, got it, got it. The man cocked his head to one side, listening to the constant chittering, right? The rushing scurry of the shop, that noise. He blurted, "Doesn't it get you?" So noise. What noise? Right. So Mr. Purcell looked surprised. He could hear nothing unusual. Right. The customer looked. I mean, all these caged stuff, all these main caged stuff means all the animals and birds that are kept in this cage. Drives you crazy, doesn't it? So means makes you like means or don't you? Mr. Purcell drew back. So came back. Either the man was insane. Insane means called as a mentally retired or drunk. He said quickly, "Yes, yes, surely, I guess so. Listen." The staring eyes came closer. Right. How long do you think it took me to make the $5? Right. The merchant wanted to order him out of the shop, but oddly enough, he could not. He heard himself dutifully asking, "Why? Why?" How long did it take you? The other laughed. 10 years at hard labor. 10 years to earn $5, 50 cents a year. Right. Now imagine that the man was just stating here. So, and stating that what the merchant wanted to order him out of the shop. Right. But oddly enough, means he could not. So, the merchant means referring to Mr. Person. So, wanted to do what? Order him out of the shop. Means wanted the man to go out of the shop. But oddly enough, he could not. He heard himself dutifully asking, why? How long did it take you? The other laughed. 10 years at hard labor. 10 years to earn $5, 50 cents a year. It was best. Purcell decided to humor him, to make him laugh. Right. So, my, 10 years. It means he earned that $5 in 10 years. It means 50 cents. It means 100 cents is a $1. Right. So, that is certainly a long time now. They give you $5, the man laughed, and a cheap suit, and tell you not to get caught again. So Mr. Purcell mopped his sweating brow. Mopped means putting his eyebrows a little bit down. So, sweating brow. Now, about the care and feeding of your dopes, I would advise, right? Bah, the man song around. Swing, song. Uh, the man swung around, moved around, and stalked abruptly. Stalked abruptly means followed abruptly or quickly from the store. So Purcell sighed with a sudden relief, sudden relax. So Mr. Purcell felt a little relaxed. He waddled to the window and stayed out. So he waddled to the window and stayed out means he went to the
So
window.
of waddle.
Yeah. So he waddled to the window and stayed out means he went to the window to look at the man who went outside. So he wanted to say him bye or called as means just to say something. He went to the window just outside. So his peculiar customer had halted. You can say that. His peculiar customer means the man who came with and took the uh, cage having with the two birds, two dopes. So
So what is the meaning of peculiar?
peculiar means odd or strange, right? So it's odd or peculiar, sometimes unusual customer, like a strange behavior, right? The customer has a strange behavior. So the strange behavior customer had halted. Halted. Where did he halt? Now he halted. He stopped for some time, means outside. He was holding the cage shoulder high, like this. He was holding the cage shoulder high, still looking at his purchase. So like this, he was looking at the means his cage. He was holding the cage shoulder high, looking at his purchase. Then opening the cage, he opened the cage. He reached inside and drew out one of the dopes. He took out one of the dopes because two dopes were there. He tossed it into the air. So means like he made them freedom. He gave them the freedom. You can say he tossed it into the air. He drew out the second and tossed it after the first. So it means he allowed the two dopes give freedom. They rose like wind-blown balls of fluff and were lost in the smoky gray of the wintry city. So it means immediately what happened means these two birds, they went to the high, like wind-blown balls. Wind-blown balls means like immediately they disappear, right? So like a wind, like the wind that moved from one side to the other side, similar to that, these two ropes also went very high, balls of fluff, and were lost in the smoky gray of the wintry city. For an instant, the liberators are silent, uh, and the lifted gauge watched after them. For an instant, the liberators, silent and lifted gauge watched after them. So, it is the kind of a freedom, right? So it is the kind of a freedom, and also the person who was silently looked uh, those of the two dopes. Then he dropped the cage. He kept the cage on the ground. He shoved both hands deep in his trousers pockets, right? Trousers pockets, uh, hands down means both of the hands he put it in his trousers pockets, and hands down his head and shuffled away, right? So putting his head down and means shuffled away means left the place. The merchant's brow, the merchant means here it is talking about Mr. Purcell, right? So means his eyebrows was puckered with the perplexity. Perplexity means confusion, right? So puckered with the perplexity means it seems like a kind of a spot mark, right? With a confusion. So can be identified with a confusion. So desperately had the man desired the dopes that he had let him have them at a reduced price. So here Mr. Purcell was thinking, the man was surprised. Means, how did that man convince Mr. Purcell to get that cage with a very minimum price, right? With a reduced price. And immediately he had turned them loose. Immediately he had turned them loose means he allowed these two of the birds set free. Now why? Mr. Purcell muttered here. Mr. Purcell did what? Muttered. Muttered means called as a made a uh, made a whispering sound or called as a slow sound. Did he do that? He felt vaguely insulted. Right? He felt vaguely insulted means Mr. Purcell felt a kind of a insult to himself. Now, if you talk about that, did you understand the passage or the text?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me give you some more information about it. The passage describes what actually? That passage describes Mr. Purcell, the owner of a pet shop, and a mysterious encounter means with a customer, right? The story is that's what. And when you talk about that, Mr. Purcell's belief, the the first paragraph establishes what? Now, the first paragraph establishes Mr. Purcell as a pet shop owner who doesn't believe in ghosts. It introduces the strange encounter, strange meeting with a customer, and hints at an eerie feeling. Eerie feeling means confusing or called as a kind of a strange feeling that spreads after the customer's departure. Customer's departure means when customers left. Second, description of Mr. Purcell. The second paragraph or the second paragraph provides a what? A physical description of Mr. Purcell. He is portrayed as a small, fussy man with a red cheeks and large glasses. The shop's bustling atmosphere, bustling means called as a lots of noise, right? A noising atmosphere filled with a variety of animals is highlighted, and it contrasted or it contrasts with what how customer find the animals cute while Mr. Purcell maintains a professional demeanor. Now you would find out that means when the animals are making noise in a kind of a place, whereas customers find these animals are cute. So and Mr. Purcell is nothing but a professional demeanor, right? So that is what you would find out in a second paragraph. Third paragraph stated that Mr. Purcell's morning routine. So, what is that Mr. Purcell's morning routine? Now, it indicates about Mr. Purcell's daily routine of reading the morning paper in his shop. It emphasizes his engagement with the news despite the constant noise of the animals. That is what given in the third paragraph. Fourth, the mysterious customer's arrival. So you would find out that how the mysterious customer surprising kind of a mm, cheap but new shoot and having $5 in his hand, which he earned in a 10 years. So it is stated that the mysterious customer's arrival. So the absence of the usual bell ringing when a customer enters the shop sets the stage for the mysterious encounter. How do you consider that the customer is a mysterious? Because we found out like the kind of a jingle bell, right, which was hung on the doorstep. So which supposed to ring when any of the customer enters the shop. But that time when the mysterious customer, the customer entered, and the absence of the bell ringing is creating the customer is a mysterious one, right? Uh, so how did he come without having any bell ringing? So the customer appears suddenly and seems to harbor negative feeling towards Mr. Person. So it also created a kind of a negative feeling towards Mr. Purcell. Why? Now, because how come Mr. Purcell kept so many animals in a, means a kind of a cage, right? Or in a different cage. So the fifth paragraph indicates about what? Customer's request. What is the customer's request? The customer asks for something in a cage, but refuses the suggestion for a white rat, expressing an interest for a birds or winged creature. He eventually settles on what? Buying dopes, but can only afford them at a reduced price of $5. So the sixth paragraph stated that the customer's strange comments, right? What is the customer's strange comment? The customer makes cryptic comments about the noise in the shop and the long struggle to earn $5, right? This actually confuses Mr. Purcell, who tries to engage in a conversation about caring for the dopes. The seventh paragraph, which is the last one, and indicating about the customer's action, that makes a kind of a surprising, because the customer abruptly leaves the shop, taking the dopes with him, and he releases them into the city. So leaving Mr. Purcell both confused and also insulted by this unexpected behavior. So the passage creates an atmosphere of mystery and uncomfortable, especially regarding the what? Means you can say that peculiar customers' uh, actions, right? So it leaves readers also with questions about the customer's motive and the importance of releasing the doubts, right? So that's what is indication of this topic, which is called as a
I want something in a cage.
I want something in a cage. I hope you understood completely.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So are you ready to attend some task on this particular topic?